Gaetz praising Greenberg. It's 2017. Listen to this.
Joel Greenberg has gone into the Seminole County Tax Collector's office. He's taken it by storm. He's been a disruptor, and he's brought sort of a modern approach to management to that office. And if you look at what people want in the country right now, they want that disruptor. They want someone with business experience, and they want someone who's not going to adhere to the dogmas that have strangled progress in Washington, D.C. for a generation.
Greenberg is in jail facing allegations similar to Gaetz. Could Greenberg end up cooperating with the investigation and then flipping on Gaetz?
Well, it's always possible. He's in prison because of a bail violation. He's facing his trial in June, so he hasn't been convicted yet. It just depends in part on who's the bigger fish. I mean, if Greenberg really was driving all of this and Matt Gaetz just dabbled in it, then maybe they wouldn't flip Greenberg on Gaetz. But that's something prosecutors are going to have to figure out if Greenberg is willing. I'll tell you what, prosecutors are always certainly willing to think about it and talk about it. So if Greenberg wants to come in, I'm sure they'll hear him out and hear what he has to say.
Charlie, give me your final thoughts, because listen, he doesn't have a lot of goodwill, political goodwill, or friends in D.C., it seems. He's antagonized a lot of people.
Oh, he sure does. In fact, there are many members that are having, gleeful feelings of Schadenfreude right now. He's made enemies. They want him gone, clearly. His staff is bailing on him. His communications director left, and they're all worried about their own reputations now. The staff, they need jobs. So he's going to be very isolated, very lonely. I don't know how he's going to continue to serve. I've seen members resign for one hell of a lot less, and I've seen Republican leaders force resignations on their members when they become this type of distraction or embarrassment.
Charlie, Jennifer, thank you. Jennifer, see, perfect. Everything's great now. we can hear you and see you both. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching, everyone. Our coverage continues.
The best Sunday morning lineup is only on CNN. Sunday, starting at 8 a.m.
You've always been an original, but now you're officially an original. Protect your work with LegalZoom. LegalZoom, let's make it official.
Check your free credit scores at Credit Karma.
There's something wrong with this place, Henry. It's not just them. I can feel it.
It's only pause.
I can feel it. Mom?
So what do you love about your Always pan?
The non-stick, incredible. The built-in spatula rest, genius. I just learned to cook, and this pan makes it so easy.
At Connections Academy, our supportive community helps shape confident, resourceful students by inviting knowledge in. Connections Academy, tuition-free online public school. We change minds.
Who's on with your brother? What happened to Amy? That is Amy. Oh, you look amazing. Jenny Craig works.
Introducing Rapid Results Max, our most effective weight loss program ever. Take your weight loss to the max with our delicious meals and a revolutionary recharge bar designed to increase fat burn and make you feel less hungry.
Doing Jenny Craig, my best decision ever.
You can lose up to 17 pounds in your first 4 weeks.
Max was so easy and it worked.
Call now. Limited time offer and flexible delivery options with Jenny Craig.
I used to have a gap in the front and on the side. Going through the process, my confidence is right here. Afterwards, it's way up there. You can't see it anymore.
Straighten your teeth with clear aligners from Candid. Get started today at Canico.com. Patience is running thin. Everything promises look again.
On CNN. Introducing Gresham Subaru Fast Pass. Buy and release entirely online, including your trade-in and delivery. It's easy. Just go to GreshamSubaru.com, pick the vehicle you want, and click the Fast Pass button. Next, customize your payments. Pick the terms that fit your budget. Finally, schedule pickup or delivery. Plus, you have 5 days to return your new vehicle if you don't love it. So get clicking now with Fast Pass at GreshamSubaru.com.
Want to save hundreds on your wireless bill? With Xfinity Mobile, you can. How about saving hundreds on the new Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra 5G? You can do that too. All on the most reliable network? Sure thing. And with fast nationwide 5G included at no extra cost, we've got you covered. So join the carrier rated #1 in customer satisfaction. And learn how much you can save at xfinitymobile.com/mysavings.
I'm Phil Mattingly at the White House, and this is CNN.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
Hello and welcome to our viewers here in the United States and all around the world. I'm Michael Holmes. You're watching CNN News. And now we want to get straight to our top story. For the second time in just 3 months, the U.S. mourning the loss of a Capitol Police officer killed in the line of duty. He died after a knife-wielding attacker rammed a car into a barricade. Flags now being flown at half-staff at both the Capitol and the White House in the officer's honor. Another officer was wounded in the attack. The suspect was killed. Jessica Dean with the latest on where things stand.
The United States Capitol on high alert again as another attack left one Capitol Police officer dead and another injured.
The suspect rammed his car into 2 of our officers.
A 25-year-old suspect, Noah Green, rammed this blue sedan into a barricade at the Capitol building, striking 2 officers before exiting that vehicle and charging at the officers with a knife.
The suspect did start lunging toward U.S. Capitol Police officers, at which time U.S. Capitol Police officers fired upon the suspect.
A law enforcement official telling CNN one officer was stabbed.
It is with a very, very heavy heart that I announce one of our officers has succumbed to his injuries.
William Billy Evans, an 18-year veteran of the force, is the second Capitol Police officer to die on duty in just the last 3 months. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling him a, quote, martyr for our democracy, and President Biden ordering flags at the White House to be lowered at half-staff. This afternoon's attack bringing back memories of the January 6th insurrection, just as security measures were ramping down with fences being removed around the Capitol.
What it shows is that there are people out there that want to hurt us. And so we got to do more and we got to do better.
Authorities are still working to determine a motive in all of this, but we know in the weeks before the attack, the suspect had posted to social media about losing his job, about medical issues, and also about his fear that the government had targeted him for what he called mind control. Jessica Dean, CNN, Capitol Hill.
Lawmakers offering messages of condolences for the fallen officer. The Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer tweeted this, quote, "For his service to our Capitol, everyone who serves at and visits our Capitol and our country, we will be forever indebted to Officer Evans, who was killed today defending them, to his family, to his fellow officers, and to everyone who knew and loved him." And Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell writing, quote, "I am heartbroken that Officer Evans was killed today in the line of duty on this Good Friday. Let's all pray for the healing for the surviving officer, comfort for Officer Evans' family, and for all the officers and families of the United States Capitol Police." Now, I want to bring in CNN law enforcement contributor Steve
Hello.
Moore in Los Angeles. He's a retired FBI supervisory special agent. Thanks for being with us. I mean, first of all, what do investigators want to learn about this man from those social media posts, which pretty clearly spoke of some sort of illness, government mind control and so on? What are they going to be doing?
What they're going to be doing is trying to rule out any conspiracy with anybody else, any political motive for this. And I know it sounds like a political motive, but what it's going to boil down to, I believe, based on the evidence we have so far, is that we are dealing with somebody who was severely mentally ill and acted on that basis.
How significant do you think it is that the target was the Capitol? I mean, a lot of talk that, the January 6th insurrection has sort of made the seat of government more of a target than perhaps it was anyway. Do you think there's an argument in that?
Well, I think the problem is that the Capitol building itself is going to be a lightning rod for both sides. I mean, this was farthest from a right-wing attack you can get. This person was allegedly a follower of Louis Farrakhan, a black separatist. So what this proves is that people from the far left and the far right and people with mental illness in between are all going to see this as a target, much like Al-Qaeda viewed the World Trade Center as a symbol of America. The Capitol building has become a lightning rod for people on both sides.
Yeah, I guess, in some ways, when we look, and the loss of life is horrible, but at the end of the day, the attacker was stopped and security protocols worked despite the loss of life. I mean, the barriers went up, the police acted as they should. Does it indicate to you any security holes for the Capitol, or are they just some things you can't protect against?
Well, I think it indicates that, yes, we have very robust security measures, at least up to this point. We don't know how big a threat we have out there, and the Capitol Police are going to have to deal with potentially larger threats. What I would like to see, and what I think this accident pointed out, is that there is a need for more safety for the officers. And I understand that Capitol Police this is coming at them new in a much more vivid way than it's coming at us. But had those officers had some kind of cover without being literally physically at a place where they could be assaulted, we might have had a different outcome. Please don't take that as criticism of Capitol Police. But we, as we found out after 9/11, we have to adapt to every new attack.
Yeah, and this was in many ways a low-tech attack, a car and a knife. I guess in the bigger picture, how do you balance keeping open as much as possible what is a symbol of American democracy, and balance that with the need to keep it safe? Is it even possible to fortify to the point where it would not have any practical vulnerabilities? There's always going to be an entrance somewhere.
Right, and you're absolutely right with that. But we found out with terrorism that we couldn't stop airline travel, but we could make it safe enough to where an attack became a remote possibility, not an impossibility, but a remote possibility. And I think it is important enough that our symbol of democracy is open and accessible to the very people of the democracy, so that we actually win on that. We don't let somebody shut it down for us. So I think it's important, and I think we are going to have to advance the state of the art so that we can keep it open and at the same time keep people safe. It can not be done 100%, but it can be well up there into the 90s and close to 100.
Steve Moore, really appreciate your time and your expertise. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, baseball's All-Star Game won't be played in Atlanta this summer as planned. It is the most dramatic response yet to Georgia's sweeping new election law. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said this, quote, "Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions to the ballot box." Now, LeBron James, who is now a part owner of the Boston Red Sox, he tweeted out, quote, proud to call myself a part of the MLB family today. But the Atlanta Braves say they are, quote, deeply disappointed, adding this was neither our decision nor our recommendation. The team says it had hoped our city could use this event as a platform to enhance the discussion. Republican Governor Brian Kemp, who signed that controversial law, of course, ripped the decision, saying that the league, in his words, caved to fear, political opportunism, and liberal lies. Now, the game will still honour Braves legend Hank Aaron, who died back in January, but no word yet on where the All-Star game will now be held. Hall of Fame broadcaster Bob Costas, who is a CNN contributor, says this is the latest example of sports leagues making statements about fairness, equity, and politics.
Until relatively recently, baseball was not as apt as a sport to weigh in on social issues as perhaps the NBA, the WNBA, the NFL. But that all changed. I mean, last year was obviously a time of reckoning, and it continues. There's a players' alliance now in baseball, made up primarily of players of color, primarily African-American players, but also widely supported by white players around Major League Baseball. So there are still some people who are going to say, stick to sports, stick to sports. Bob Costas there. Now, authorities in Taiwan say they believe they have rescued everyone trapped inside the wreckage of that deadly train crash, but they are still searching just in case. At least 50 people were killed, more than 150 injured Friday morning when this train, packed full of people traveling ahead of a public holiday, derailed inside a tunnel. The impact ripping carriages apart and trapping dozens of people inside. Grieving families gathered at a morgue to honour the dead. Government officials say they're still working to identify some of the victims. I'm Michael Holmes. Coming up for our viewers here in the US, new details on Friday's Capitol attack and the latest in the trial of Derek Chauvin. For our international viewers, though, Marketplace Africa is next.
Hi guys, check out this over here. What'd you do?
Tell me how you did it.
Yeah, get a little closer.
That's insane.
That's a different car.
That's the same car. Yeah, that's before, that's after.
Oh, that's awesome. Make it new with New Finish.
It doesn't happen often. Everyday people taking on the corporate special interests and winning. But now, before the People Act stands on the brink of becoming law, ensuring accurate elections, ironclad ethics rules to crack down on political self-dealing, a ban on dark money, and finally reducing corporate money in our politics to restore our faith in government. Because it's time for the people to win.
Robinhood has made it extremely easy for me to take the income I make from my commission paintings and invest it into stocks. As an artist, Robinhood gives me my financial power back. You are in control of your financial destiny.
When you've tried everything. I was getting chemical peels, bleaching cream.
This is melasma. I'm trying to get rid of it. I've tried everything. Introducing Muesli Face RX. Prescription skincare delivered straight to your door. The spot cream is 10 times more potent than over-the-counter and prescription alternatives, so you'll finally see a difference. My skin looks amazing.
It's amazing. I'm a loyal customer forever.
See for yourself at muesli.com/TV.
We at 4Ocean understand that wearing a face mask has become part of everyday life for everyone around the world. Whether you're visiting the grocery store, grabbing a bite to eat, or putting in a full day's work at the office, wearing a face mask, while necessary, can oftentimes be quite uncomfortable and has even led to increased pollution in our oceans. That's why we're excited to introduce the 4Ocean Face Mask Support Frame. Made right here in the USA from recycled materials, including 50% 4Ocean plastic, the 4Ocean Face Mask Support Frame can make wearing a face mask so much easier and provide all-day comfort. Do your glasses clog up when you put on a face mask? The 4Ocean Face Mask Support Frame prevents that by creating a tighter seal between the top of your mask and your cheekbones. Does your mask slide up and down when you're talking? The 4Ocean Face Mask Support Frame is designed to stay in place and features 4 distinctive clips that help to create a solid structure that won't move. Do you find it difficult to breathe or talk while wearing a mask? The 4Ocean Face Mask Support Frame's strategic design creates a structure within your mask, keeping it away from your mouth and eliminating fabric to lip contact altogether. Unlike other products on the market today, the 4Ocean Face Mask Support Frame is dishwasher safe and flexes to fit any size face and jawline. Even better, this product comes with 4Ocean's promise to pull 1 pound of trash from the ocean, rivers, or coastlines with each product sold. You can feel great about your purchase and support our mission to end the ocean plastic crisis. Demand is extremely high and supplies are limited. So get your 4Ocean Face Mask Support Frame today by visiting 4ocean.com. That's the number 4, ocean.com.
That moment you walk in the office, people are wearing the same gear, you feel a sense of connectedness and belonging right away. And our shirts from Custom Ink help bring us together. Custom Ink has hundreds of products to help you look and feel like a team. Get started today at customink.com.
Welcome to the back of your mind. This is where we learn how to eat with new. Cool.
The prosecution in
the disgusting allegations completely.
Providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime.
But a source telling CNN investigators are examining whether any federal campaign money was involved in paying for travel and expenses for the women. Gates and Greenberg have been friends for years, posting photos together, and Gates even telling a local radio station that Greenberg would make a good member of Congress in 2017.
If Joel were to run from Seminole County, I think he becomes the next congressman from the 7th District.
The duo, according to a Florida lawmaker, leaving an unsolicited voicemail on her cell phone. She gave a recording of the message to CNN.
This is your favorite tax collector. I'm up in Panhandle with your favorite U.S. Congressman, Mr. Gates.
Hi, Anna.
And we were just chatting about you and talking about your lovely qualities. And
we think you're the future of the Democratic Party in Florida.
Additionally, information that may connect Gates to a fake ID scheme at the center of Greenberg's case was presented to federal investigators at a meeting last year. Sources familiar tell CNN. Greenberg had entered a plea of not guilty. Attorneys for Greenberg and Gates had no comment. In addition to the federal investigation, multiple sources told CNN Gates showed lawmakers photos and videos of nude women he claimed to have slept with. One source saying Gates shared the images on his phone while on the floor of the House.
Gates finds himself with few public allies. His communications director resigned earlier today, and even though Gates has been one of the most vocal Trump supporters, so far the former president has remained silent amid his escalating set of scandals that could potentially end Gates' political career. Paula Reed.
Hello, everyone.
Washington.
The U.S. Capitol Police mourning the loss of another officer, and this year's violence taking a toll on the department and officer's family. We'll have that when we come back. Also, the CDC sharing its guidance for Easter for those who are fully vaccinated against the virus. We'll explain what's changed.
When news happens anywhere in the world, CNN is there.
The crackdown inside Belarus has significantly worsened.
Do you know who these children are? Have you seen them before?
We were looking for the lost Uyghur children of Xinjiang.
This is part of a campaign against the women of Tigray.
Another brutal day for Brazil. More than 3,000 deaths from the virus. People feel compelled to make this dark, perilous journey.
China is not happy with this reporting.
It's hard to believe that Mint Mobile can be good at just $15 a month. So, as Mint's new owner, I brought in one of our first and oldest customers, Wasim McNavy. Welcome to Mint, Ryan. So you've had Mint for years. Any issues? No, the service has been great. And under my ownership, it's going to get even better. Oh, no idea.
Still $15 a month, though, right?
Yep.
How about Taco Wednesday? Nobody's done that before.
One of my favorite supplements is Qunol Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Unlike regular turmeric supplements, Qunol's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric. Qunol is the turmeric brand I trust.
Babbel, a language learning program developed by over 100 language specialists. Babbel teaches real-life conversations in Spanish, French, Russian, and more. Babbel's 10 to 15-minute lessons are available as an app or online at Babbel.com.
The Real. Sustainable luxury at up to 90% off retail. Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Gucci, Celine, Cartier, Tiffany, and hundreds more. Shop, consign, repeat. Get 20% off select items with the code REAL.
How great is it that we get to tell everybody how Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need? I mean, sorry.
Oh, what? I need move.
No, buddy. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
With over 100 years of professional experience, Bona makes it easy to care for your hardwood floors, so you can just relax and enjoy. Bona takes the stress out of cleaning, and when it's Bona Clean, muddy paws leave no trace. Bona Hardwood Floor Cleaner is formulated to gently lift dirt and grime, and dry fast with no dulling residue. Simple, effective water-based solutions that are safe for your floors, your family, our planet, and this guy too. Try Bona's new antibacterial floor cleaner. Kills 99.9% of germs through the power of hydrogen peroxide.
Welcome. Today's discussion will be around sliced meat.
Moms want healthy. And affordable.
Landed Price Premium.
No added hormones either.
It's the only protein ever been melted with.
Land Trust Premium. Fresh look, same great taste.
They killed her son, Dad, Beulah May, in an all-white jury. Took the Klan down. The People versus the Klan, on Sunday, April 11th at 9.
Join us at More Furniture for Less for a very special Easter event.
Easter Sunday, you'll get 72 months interest-free financing.
Our new spring arrivals have landed, and we've got the latest in style and value for every room in your home.
More Furniture is known for great everyday low prices. And this Easter Sunday, you'll get 72 months interest-free financing.
Visit us in-store with special Easter Sunday hours from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and free shop our incredible selection at morefurniture.com.
Hey Xfinity, show me Disney Plus.
I'm here on business. I need your help. I've been quested to bring this one back to its kind.
Now you can access exclusive Disney originals.
We are an unusual couple.
Oh, I don't think that was ever in question.
And stream must-see Disney new releases.
People need this cinema.
Where do we start?
Find the best in entertainment all in one place. With Disney Plus now on Xfinity. A way better way to watch.
I know some road is along the U.S.-Mexico border, and this is the enemy.
And welcome back to our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Michael Holmes, you're watching CNN Newsroom. More now on our top story, the Capitol Hill attack that left one police officer dead and another wounded. Officials investigated what might have led a 25-year-old man to ram a car into the officers on Friday. The suspect then killed after officials said he lunged at police with a knife. Flags at the White House and the Capitol at half-staff in honor of the slain officer. William Evans was an 18-year veteran of the police force. Police paid their respects with a procession passing in front of George Washington University Hospital, where one of the officers was taken after the attack. It's the second time in 3 months Capitol Police have had to announce a death in the line of duty.
Two U.S. Capitol Police officers were transported to two different hospitals, and it is with a very, very heavy heart that I announce one of our officers has succumbed to his injuries.
Now, the death of Officer William Evans is hitting the Capitol Police hard, as you might imagine. The department was still grieving the loss of 3 officers after the January 6th attack on the Capitol, and now this latest incident adding to the trauma. Alex Marquardt with more.
For the third time this year, the United States Capitol Police is laying to rest one of its own. A procession on Friday afternoon for Officer William Evans, a member of the First Responders Unit, who just last month had marked 18 years on the force.
And it is with a very, very heavy heart that I announce one of our officers has succumbed to his injuries.
The acting chief of the Capitol Police, Yogananda Pittman, reminding America what her officers have endured this year, starting in the first days of 2021 with the insurrection.
I just ask that the public continue to keep U.S. Capitol Police and their families in your prayers. This has been an extremely difficult time for U.S. Capitol Police after the events of January 6th and now the events that have occurred here today.
After a dramatic ramping up of security following January 6th, things had just begun to ease, with the perimeter moving back, fences coming down, and a hope among members of Congress and law enforcement for some return to normalcy. That hope was shattered Friday with a second major act of violence on Capitol Hill in under 3 months. U.S. Capitol Police, along with Washington, D.C. police, were the first line of defense against the insurrectionists on January 6th. They were screamed at, beaten, and sprayed with chemicals by the rioters. Officer Brian Sicknick was hit with what's believed to have been bear spray. He died from his injuries a day later. 2 officers later took their own lives. The wife of Capitol Police Officer Howie Liebengood said his suicide was in the line of duty.
saying the insurrection and the days that followed took an incredible toll. Officer Harry Dunn described the pain to CNN's Don Lemon, calling it hell.
When you have good days and you have bad days, but just thinking about it just takes you back to that like you said, that hell day. And it was tough to live through, and it's also tough to relive talking about it.
Dunn told CNN that the Trump supporters who were there that day used racial slurs against black officers. He talked about the depression that many officers felt afterwards.
Officer Signet was killed. We had officers that took their life because of the stress that they endured from that day. That is what happened. I don't know how you can word it any different than what exactly happened.
In the examination of what happened on January
I keep muting you guys and gals because I'm having trouble with my allergies and I'm going to take some more medicine.
Not just a pretty smile, it's your health. Why, honestly, could everything change right there?
I'm going to check my temperature. I had the Pfizer vaccine today. I don't think it's a reaction to the vaccine, other than I didn't take my allergy medicine because one place says you can keep taking your allergy medicine, but one place says don't take it because then you won't know if you're having an allergic reaction to the vaccine. But I'm also allergic to the spring tree pollen that's blooming right now, so I just took the antihistamine. I'm going to check my temperature.
Ancestry gave us context, this whole world of people, adventurous people and survivors. It was interesting to think about their lives, their successes, and their hardships. I think that's part of what I want my kids to know. They come from people who were brave and took risks, big risks. No pressure.
Bring your family history to life like never before. Get started for free at Ancestry.com.
Keeping your oyster business growing as you swamped. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed.
98.2, no fever. I had a vaccine today. All right, let me write that down. 98.2. I'm trying to make myself drink fluids even if I don't want to, because they say you should drink half of your, if you weigh 200 pounds, you should have 100 ounces of fluids the day you have a vaccine. Some naturopaths say you should drink that much every day. Filtered water. All right, what did I say? 98.2? All right. I'm gonna 98.2. I'm gonna get my decongestant and some Gatorade or some Sprite. And if I mute you again, it's because I'm having an allergic reaction and I'm checking to see if the medicine's helping. I kept my mask on when I got home for an hour to see if that would help keep my air moisturized, and I still had a reaction an hour later.
On 3% on dining, including takeout, and so much more. Chase, take more, put yours.
For a lot of us, pets are our closest
friends.
Animals have.
And I don't know why this show is on right now, but it is live. They're not it said Aaron Burnett out front, but that's the 4 p.m. show. But I don't know what happened to the 5 p.m. show. I think at 5 p.m. they were replaying the COVID doctors the 2-hour special from 5 to 7. And then if Don Lemon was on from 7 to 9, are they going to replay his show at 10? I don't know. We can wait 20 minutes and find out.
Taking Xyzal at night relieves allergies while you sleep, so you wake refreshed. Plus, it works faster than Claritin, and on first dose,
And
the same relief as Zyrtec at nearly half the size. Be wise all. Take Xyzal at night.
I'm Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill, and this is CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by 1-800-PET-MEDS. Call or visit petmeds.com to save big today.
All right, I'm gonna try. Where is?
For the same medications
I'm gonna.
but for less with fast free shipping. Visit petmeds.com today.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention now says people can safely gather for Easter indoors and without masks if they're fully vaccinated. CNN's Alex Field breaks down all the new guidance.
All right, let's listen. I haven't heard this part yet.
Just in time for the Easter holiday weekend, new guidance from the CDC. Tens of millions of fully vaccinated Americans can now celebrate indoors without a mask and get back to traveling at low risk to themselves.
The science on COVID-19 is constantly evolving.
The CDC says people who are at least 2 weeks past their final dose of the shot don't need to test before travel or quarantine after. For those traveling internationally, a negative test is required to return back to the U.S. A second test 3 to 5 days after arrival is recommended.
All travelers, regardless of vaccination status, should continue to wear masks.
Steps forward, but not quite a green light.
While we believe that fully vaccinated people can travel at low risk to themselves, CDC is not recommending travel at this time due to the rising number of cases.
New COVID-19 cases continue to climb, partially fueled by variants. 79,000 new COVID-19 cases reported Thursday, with about half the states in the country continuing to see increases in the past week.
Like many places around the country, we've seen an uptick in new cases. And as I mentioned earlier this week, the largest growth in new cases in our state is occurring in people under the age of 40.
More vaccines can fix that. Today, a milestone. More than 100 million Americans with at least one dose of the vaccine. An average of 2.9 million shots now going into arms every day.
We're vaccinating more people than any other country on earth.
Today, Johnson & Johnson begins a clinical trial of its vaccine for children ages 12 to 17. That on the heels of a big announcement from Pfizer. Data from its small clinical trial shows its vaccine is 100% effective among children ages 12 to 15.
The good news is that the vaccines that we have to date have proven to be both safe and effective, including against the variants.
But with so many still unvaccinated, infections are still spreading, and perhaps more quickly than we know.
This is happening in the face of us generally testing less frequently. We've diverted a lot of our resources from testing to appropriately ramping up vaccination.
Testing across the country falling now to an average of about 890,000 daily tests. That's less than half of the testing high point we hit over the winter.
The virus has been spreading the fastest in Michigan. The U.S. Surgeon General is now saying that vaccinating more people isn't just about protecting more people, it's also about preventing the virus from mutating even further. In New York, Alexander Field, CNN.
Well, the U.S. CDC updating its guidance for cruise ship operators.
Unstable internet.
Have to bring volunteers aboard for practice cruises before taking on
It's good now.
customers. They will also have to report new COVID-19 cases every day instead of weekly and plan to vaccinate their crew and port staff. But the new guidance does not give a date when cruises can start again. Despite more than 100 million Americans having at least one COVID vaccine dose so far, there is one large group of people that may not be getting enough access to vaccines, the homeless. Dan Simon with the details.
This is what I say. This is the home right here. It is squalor beyond imagination. 49-year-old Hishmu Courtney showing us the abandoned car he's been living in for the past 5 years on the streets of Oakland. Dead rats littering this encampment.
Does the car drive? No, once upon a time it did. It doesn't move. I wish it did because
the grass stuff comes, we want to find a home too. So they where'd you find the car? They was here. With the unsanitary conditions and sporadic mask use, encampments like this have been ripe for the spread of COVID.
We've really seen COVID infiltrate into this population that's so marginalized from society.
But the trend lines may be changing, thanks to programs like this one bringing vaccine doses directly to the streets and those experiencing homelessness.
What's it like living over there? I hate it. You never get used to it.
66-year-old Terry Click jumped at the chance for a shot.
I read 2 newspapers every day. I do keep tabs.
We flip the medical paradigm on its head. We essentially bring care directly to people instead of waiting for people to come to care. Audrey, go ahead and do some paperwork with you.
Dr. Jason Reinking is a street medicine doctor. His organization, Lifelong Medical Care, has a health clinic on wheels to provide the life-saving doses. Not everyone says yes.
Not gonna happen. Maybe next week.
Hesitancy can become.
Many of them are marginalized from friends, family, due to severe mental illness or other things. People have great mistrust of systems in general, and medical fits into that paradigm.
First, I was against it, but I guess when I learned more about it, I guess I'm doing the right thing.
27-year-old Portia Jones, a mother of 2, is getting the 1-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
That's it. All right.
That's it.
Hold on one second.
For state health
I'm going to take the other
only
medicine.
31 states and Washington, D.C. are now vaccinating the unsheltered, or all adults in general.
Many states have discretion, and they have really pushed people experiencing homelessness pretty far down the chain. From a public health point of view, that is not good.
In many cases, though, cities and counties make their own decisions. Back in Oakland, Vishnu Courtney says he's grateful now to be fully vaccinated.
We're not worthless. A lot of people think we're worthless, right? We were somewhere before we came here.
Now, there are no reliable statistics on how many people experiencing homelessness have died of COVID, but a recent another reason why.
How much more?
It's so important to have programs like the one we profile with medical staff
30%.
and getting those shots right on the spot. Dan Simon, CNN, Oakland.
All right.
The coronavirus pandemic pushed many Americans out of work. Well, now jobs are starting to come back at a rate better than some economists predicted. On Friday, the U.S. Labor Department reported that in March, employers added more than 900,000 jobs to the workforce. That is the biggest gain since last August. We're seeing jobs return in restaurants and bars, in hotels, education and performing arts, and spectator sports. Construction work also making a comeback. Some good news there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back on CNN Newsroom, the second Easter of the pandemic almost here. We'll tell you how the Vatican is adjusting as Italy enters another lockdown.
All right, let me look. It says CNN Tonight with Don Lemon, and it says you can restart it. Aaron Burnett out front says you can restart it. CNN Tonight with Don Lemon says you can restart it. So
Detail is taken care of. 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The real.
So if they don't start running the Dawn Lemon at 10 o'clock, we can try to restart it and see if that works. The Watch Now button.
Get 20% off select.
What would happen if I tried Aaron Burnett out front and restart it? You want me to click it and see what happens? All right, let's click it and see what happens.
And free. I use Canva to make social posts, website banners, everything I need to reach your customers.
Let's restart it and see what happens. Ready?
I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. Aaron Burnett out front starts right.
Apparently, I can watch Aaron Burnett out front.
Out front next, Capitol attack. One officer killed,
One injured as CNN learns about the 25-year-old suspect's social media posts that refer to the government as the number one enemy. Plus powerful testimony in the trial of the ex-officer charged with killing George Floyd. A top officer testified that Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd was, quote, totally unnecessary. And a new voicemail obtained by Outfront from Congressman Matt Gaetz to a Florida state lawmaker that she said was, quote, so weird. You'll hear it. Let's go out front.
All right, I still need to get my Sudafed.
Out front tonight, breaking news, attacked again. Flags at the White House and the United States Capitol at half-staff after a second deadly attack on the Capitol grounds in less than 3 months. And again, a police officer was murdered. Capitol Police Officer William Billy Evans was a member of the Capitol Police Force for 18 years. He died in the line of duty today, killed by the attacker. Another officer remains hospitalized at this moment. And we are at this hour learning new details about the 25-year-old suspect who allegedly rammed his car into a barrier outside the Capitol building, hitting 2 officers. He recently posted a video to social media with the caption, "The U.S. government is the number one enemy of Black people." He also said he believed the federal government was targeting him with what he called mind control. Well, today's attack comes just 86 days after the deadly insurrection on January 6th. And in a horrible reality, it comes less than 2 weeks after all that fencing that surrounded the Capitol after the insurrection was finally removed. That fencing, of course, might have prevented the suspect from getting as close as he did. Now, to see the images on your screen, to hear the news of yet another officer killed protecting the United States Capitol just 3 months after January 6th is devastating, particularly and incredibly so for the family of the slain officer, for the Capitol Police Force. Tonight, of course, one of the holiest days of the year on the Christian calendar. Shimon Prokupez is out front live in Washington. And Shimon, on such a horrible Good Friday, what more are you learning about the suspect in this attack?
Well, a lot of what law enforcement also is learning is coming from his social media postings, Instagram, Facebook, and just 2 hours before this incident, before he was shot and killed here, there were postings on Instagram. Some of that you mentioned. Specifically, also, they're looking at this idea that somehow he believed that he was suffering because of the FBI and the CIA. They're also looking at some of these postings just a short time before this incident, and also links to the Nation of Islam. The minister there, Louis Farrakhan, they're looking at those links. There are postings on his Instagram where he's linking to stories from that group. So that is something investigators are looking at as well. And I just want to show you behind me here, Aaron, much of the scene now is clear. You can see the car that was used is not here. A lot of the investigators are still here. They're taking photos. But much of what we saw here earlier has been cleared out. This is now going to be a big puzzle that the FBI needs to put together, and also law enforcement here on the ground from the MPD and the Capitol Police to try and figure out what set this individual off today. That is going to be a key for investigators, but certainly they know a lot. They know that he recently lost his job, and they also are going through all these social media postings now, which are giving them some idea into this individual and some of the trouble that he was having in his life. A lot of it recently, Aaron.
All right, Shimon, thank you very much. I want to go right to Jessica Dean. And Jessica, this horrifying attack on the U.S. Capitol does come less than 3 months after the deadly insurrection, you know, the memories of which are still so raw, and now yet another.
Sorry, I'm going to rewind that last 2 sentences because I didn't hear what he said.
For investigators, but certainly they know a lot. They know that he recently lost his job, and they also are going through all these social media postings now, which are giving them some idea into this individual and some of the trouble that he was having in his life. A lot of it recently, Aaron.
All right, Shimon, thank you very much. I want to go right to Jessica Dean. And Jessica, this horrifying attack on the U.S. Capitol does come less than 3 months after the deadly insurrection, you know, the memories of which are still so raw, and now yet another Capitol Police officer. All right, Shimon, thank you very much. I want to go right to Jessica Dean.
Sorry, you guys. I'm having trouble with my ADD.
Through all these social media postings now, which are giving them some idea into this individual and some of the trouble that he was having in his life. A lot of it recently, Aaron.
All right, Shimon, thank you very much. I want to go right to Jessica Dean. And Jessica, this horrifying attack on the U.S. Capitol does come less than 3 months after the deadly insurrection, you know, the memories of which are still so raw. And now yet another Capitol police officer has lost his life.
Yeah, they're so raw, Aaron, and just under the surface here on Capitol Hill. And now today, just a moment ago, we saw that flag that is over the United States Capitol be lowered to half staff the second time this year in memory of a Capitol police officer who has died in the line of duty protecting this place and the people who work in it. It is truly devastating.
Okay, my phone just died.
Who've already suffered so much loss this year, and also the community of people who work here. I mean, when you get up to the Hill, you see the same faces day in and day out. And some of the congressional members I was talking with today, some of the staff, they are all just simply heartbroken, really stunned that we're at this place again, where we are mourning the death of a Capitol police officer who has been killed, defending and protecting the U.S. Capitol and the people inside of it. And so let me take you back to earlier today when this all started unraveling here. I was actually up in my office on the Senate side, and the announcement blared out that we were to stay away from windows and doors, that there was a lockdown in place. Obviously, everybody very, very nervous at that point, but we didn't know exactly how serious it was. I made my way down to the first floor where I could get a view of a little bit of what you were seeing on your screen there, and that's when it became apparent this was very, very serious. And we have since learned, of course, Officer Billy Evans dying as a result of what took place here today, dying in the line of duty. And I can't underscore enough, Aaron, the heaviness, the cloud that still kind of hangs over the Capitol, and certainly the Capitol Police, who have done a lot to try to streamline information to make sure they're on top of threats. Of course, the National Guard has been here, and you mentioned that fencing just coming down not 2 weeks ago. And where this all happened is a place where a lot of us, sometimes I'll walk in that way, and there's typically a couple of Capitol Police officers right there at that area. There used to be National Guard there as well. So this is a familiar route for a lot of people, and I have to underscore to you just how heavy hearts here are on Capitol Hill tonight. A lot of just devastated people.
All right, thank you very much, Jessica. And of course, just the devastation, Officer Evans losing his life, the suspect, after ramming into the barrier, getting out with a knife and stabbing him. I want to go now to Juliette Kayyem, who was the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security under President Obama. Juliette, let me start with Shimon's reporting about the attacker, okay, what we know about him. In the days and weeks before today's attack, he posted on social media he lost his job, suffered from various medical ailments. In a caption for one video he posted, it says, quote, "The U.S. government is the #1 enemy of Black people." He is African.
What about Black people?
Attacker. How much closer do you think, or how much does any of this help with a motive or a state of mind?
Right, so it all helps. Certainly his own words are going to be relevant, and his perception of both his situation and what he thought the government was doing to him might explain why he picked a particular target. So all of that is going to be relevant. And there will be a question about whether he was politically motivated. And I think this is going to be very sort of, it seems like it's going to be threading needles, but let me just be clear here. Because you hate the government does not necessarily mean that an action is terrorism, at least not a legal definition. You have to promote violence or execute violence in pursuit of a political goal. And it may be that he has a combination of mental issues, criticisms of the government that are unrelated to a specific ideology. And that's why we wait. I mean, in other words, that's why no one should use this for political purposes. This we simply do not know at this stage, but his words are relevant.
Also joining me now is the Washington, D.C. Police Chief, the former Chief, Charles Ramsey. So Chief Ramsey, look, this is a tragedy for your city and, of course, for the Capitol Police Force. But it comes, as I said, just 2 weeks after those barriers come down. Those barriers, everyone, so many people said on both sides of the aisle they want it down, right, because of freedom to access the Capitol. And then this horrible thing happened, which, probably wouldn't have happened if you weren't able to get through the barrier.
Well, it's easy to kind of look at things after the fact.
Wow.
And say something like that. But, those barriers would not have stayed up forever. So we just don't know. Eventually they would have come down. But that doesn't minimize the fact that there needs to be changes in terms of the security in and around the Capitol. General Honoré wrote a report with a lot of recommendations. I hope Congress takes it serious and looks at those recommendations, provides funding, because there has to be a change in the physical security, but also technology that can be leveraged to help with the security of the Capitol. Nothing's going to be foolproof 100%, but they can do better than they're doing now. And that's the bottom line. Status quo is not acceptable. So, you know, when we look at the fencing that you got now, obviously it's an eyesore. You don't want to see that. But it doesn't mean there should be no fencing around the Capitol. The question is, how should it be? Is it something that comes up out of the ground? Does it look more like the wrought iron type of fencing around the White House? I don't know the answer to that, but something has to be done.
You know, Juliet, other things we're learning, from Moment reporting, that the attacker believed the federal government targeted him with quote unquote mind control. He believed that Louis Farrakhan had saved him after the terrible afflictions I have suffered, presumably by the CIA and FBI. That's also a quote. These are his posts on social media. Yeah. I bring them up. Obviously, he's got serious mental issues. Okay, it would seem to me to be impossible from what we know now, and we're going to learn more, but to ever identify this as somebody who could actually be a threat to the life of a Capitol Police officer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the individual threat is almost impossible. Not always impossible. It is very difficult to solve. The number of people who would view Congress as a threat or the government per se as a threat. So as Chief Ramsey said, you have to do a combination of things. It's called layered defenses. One is get really good at intelligence, get local and state authorities, because I am curious if they knew anything to share information, be able to share information with the feds. You get defensive posturing on the physical site that's layered so that you can't get a car coming that close. And then you also have, I mean, you basically, as the case may be, is you're not messing around. I mean, the Capitol Police are not messing around now, and you can't blame them. I mean, in other words, if they're going to be under consistent threat, anyone with any motivation who would want to approach Congress at this stage is under warning, as they are for the White House, as they are for the Supreme Court.
So former FBI senior intelligence advisor and CIA counterterror official Phil Mudd joins the conversation as well. So Phil, you know what he said, obviously, about, that the FBI and the CIA sort of being out to get him, the attacker.
What about the White House and the Supreme Court, and where did all my Twitter followers go?
I mean, as they are for the White House, as they are for the Supreme Court.
So former FBI senior intelligence advisor and CIA counterterror official.
In other words, if they're going to be under consistent threat, anyone with any motivation who would want to approach Congress at this stage is under warning, as they are for the White House, as they are for the Supreme Court.
So former FBI senior intelligence advisor and CIA counterterror official Phil Mudd joins the conversation as well. So Phil, you know what he said, obviously, about, the FBI and the CIA sort of being out to get him, the attacker. He also, in another online post that we found, said, quote, "To be honest, these past few years have been tough, and these past few months tougher. I have been tried with some of the biggest unimaginable tests in my life." Again, as I have said, it is clear this person was mentally ill, but it seems that his struggles were building sort of to this unfortunate and horrible crescendo.
Yeah, I think there's a couple questions you have to ask yourself. The first, and this is a question that we cannot answer in this case, is there an indication of violence? Based on what you were just talking about, without an indication of violence, how do you ask state, local, or federal officers to intervene? The individual didn't say anything. It was an actual threat. The second question, which is tougher, but I think more intriguing and more important for America, is when the FBI or the state and local police officials do interviews tonight or look at his social media, do they see indications that there were triggers, that there were what we would call in past red flags, where a friend or family member would have called law enforcement and said, "I've seen something that is so significant, this individual needs treatment." 303 million Americans, sometimes the answer is I'm not sure there's that much we could do, and I'm not hearing anything that would have been a trigger in this case.
Chief Ramsey, let me ask you about what this means for the U.S. Capitol Police Force, though. I mean, they've had multiple officers now killed in the past 3 months because of attacks on the Capitol. And, this officer today, Officer Evans, goes to work on Good Friday, and he's stabbed to death. It is horrific, and I can't imagine what it is like for all of these officers right now and how they must feel. What are you hearing?
Well, I mean, it's very traumatic. You know, I was the chief in D.C. back in 1998 when 2 officers were shot and killed inside of the U.S. Capitol. This is the first time. Sicknick was the first officer killed in the line of duty since then. So it's not the kind of agency where you would expect to have occasional line of duty deaths. Philadelphia is a great example. I mean, I spent 8 years as police commissioner here in Philadelphia. I lost 8 officers in the line of duty. and so, you know, it's just a different environment. This officer Evans was an 18-year veteran. I'll bet he's one of those guys that just about everybody on the job knew because he had been there for so long. So it's going to have a serious impact on them. And if I can just, one last thing, I spoke with a very senior official of the Metropolitan Police Department. No one was stabbed at that location. Those officers were struck by the vehicle. He saw the video. The car came in at a high rate of speed, struck them both, sent them both airborne. When he got out of the car, other officers actually shot him when he went at him with a knife. But the early reports had him being stabbed. The second officer is stable. He's over at MedStar with multiple injuries, fractures, and the like, but he should survive.
Well, I'm really glad you can add all of that, those facts, and Chief, and thank God about the officer who's in the hospital, because all we knew that he was there, and as you say, obviously a lot of injuries, but going to live and going to be okay. Juliet, you know, let's talk a little bit about this. So you heard what the chief is saying, right? That Officer Evans was likely killed by the car itself. Then Green gets out of the car and he goes after officers with a knife. Now we know he was shot when he did that, but what do you make of a knife being his weapon of choice?
It was unique, but actually, as the chief was saying, that his weapon of choice was an automobile, and we've seen that before. And likely him coming out with a knife. We've heard people talk about, you know, death by police officer, you know, or suicide by police officer. We don't know what his intentions were, if he just wanted to get shot. What we do know, and I just want to remind people, is that the acting police chief did say that they did tell him to stand down. In other words, they didn't just start shooting. He kept running, and their use of force was completely appropriate at that stage. But the knife may have been just a way to sort of continue the terror tactic, and the response was appropriate.
Phil, their restraint, though, given what Juliet's saying, it is incredible when you think about that. You know, that after 2 officers are hit and flown in the air, one of whom we know is died, the other in the hospital, that he gets to the car with a knife and runs, and that they tell him to stand down before they shoot, that they still waited.
That is remarkable. There's a couple issues here. One is a training issue. If you're in that situation, you need somebody who's gone through hours of training to understand what the protocols are. The second issue is remembering what the mentality of people in this business are, and that is public safety. The responsibility is both to ensure public safety of the officers, but I mean, I realize this person's approaching with a knife, but you don't want to kill them. Last resort. If I could add one more point on the knife, as a former counterterrorism professional, this is really significant. When the police are talking about the motivations of the individual in terrorism, the knife told me instantly a lot, Aaron. Number one, not a lot of pre-planning. If you're doing a terrorism event, you want to maximize casualties. You want a weapon like a gun. You don't want a knife. Number 2, conspiracy. If there are a number of people involved in the attack, a number of people is sitting around saying, how do we maximize the public impact? That's typically not a knife. I understand quickly why police are saying that this is unlikely to be a terrorist incident. The knife tells me that nobody sat back and said, I want to maximize the impact of my event, Aaron.
Important. All right, I appreciate all 3 of you. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
And next, our breaking news continues. We're live outside the hospital where one of those Capitol Police officers was taken, where Chief Ramsey was just telling you his condition. We're going to hear exactly what they're telling us from the hospital. Today, yet another tragedy that the Capitol Police Department has endured in just a few short months. Plus the trial of the ex-officer accused of killing George Floyd. Top lieutenant delivers a devastating blow to Derek Chauvin's.
What is your your view of that use of force during that time period?
Totally unnecessary.
And a bombshell report involving Congressman Matt Gaetz and allegations of drugs, money, sex, and receipts as one of his top staffers trips tonight.
I always dreamed of having kids of my own. Now I'm ready for someone to call me mom. At Northwestern Mutual, our version of financial planning helps you live your dreams today.
Hello and welcome to the biggest auto protection show on earth, brought to you by CarShield. I'm your host, Chris Berman. If your car is out of warranty or close to expiring, CarShield makes sure you don't have to pay for expensive auto repair. That's why I'm a customer. Let's catch up with the action, where happy customers can save thousands on car repairs. The first 3 months, we saved $4,100.
CarShield saved me over $6,000 in engine repairs.
Those repair bills never had a chance. Look at those Hall of Fame dance moves. Saving money on expensive car repairs with CarShield will do that to you.
It's like having a suit of armor around my car.
I never have to worry about being taken advantage of when it comes to car repairs.
We're just happy with CarShield. They put a transmission in it, air mode. Does that?
When your car's check engine light comes on, that could spell big trouble for you and your wallet. An engine, transmission, or computer system breakdown could cost you thousands of dollars. But with CarShield, you'll never pay on covered repairs. CarShield covers practically all makes and all models, new or used.
When it comes to protecting you from expensive repairs, there's a new sheriff in town. CarShield is rumbling and tumbling all over that repair bill. Goodbye expensive car repairs and hello savings. This guy just scored the CarShield hat trick. That's towing, roadside assistance, and rental coverage at no extra cost. That's what I call MVP protection. Stop paying for those expensive repairs. Call CarShield and tell them the Swami sent you.
Now it's the time to make the smart choice and protect yourself from sky-high auto repair bills. Call now for a free and instant protection plan quote. It's only a matter of time until repairs are needed. And once your car breaks down, it's too late. Call 800-969-1373. 800-969-1373.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me.
All right. I want to see why the number went from 4.1K followers to 1.6K, which I have more than 1.6K on one of my Twitter accounts. So I'm going to stop some of these from running and restart them and see if that changes anything.
For just $12 a month.
I'm turning off Twitter and I'm going to turn it back on. I'm turning off Facebook and I'm turning it back on. Both my personal page and my fan page. I'm turning